Hey, no, I am living the dream. I wanted to be a teacher since 8th grade.
Oh.
I mean, where we're from, there's not a lot of exposure. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of exposure to other high-level professions.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest employers where we're from is the hospital and the school system. for the most part.
We are not a metropolis. We are super rural. I mean, that's just, and here's the thing, you may speak into this. I have a theory on why, people talk about bad teachers, right?
Sure.
Like, I had this, they act like they go to work every day and they hate it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, no.
I have a theory of why that is. I think some people are institutionalized. I think that you spend your whole life going to school, having summers off, up until you're 18 years old. Then, especially if they go to college and they don't know what they want to do when they go to college, they're like, but I love having summers off. I love spring break. So they go to college and like, well, what job, what career path can ensure me that my schedule and things don't change? And then they go become a teacher. And I think that's why, because it's not something you do, forgive me if I'm wrong, much like podcasting about Christian stuff, it's not something you do for the money. Like you don't do a teacher thing because you think you're going to have this exorbitant 7-figure salary.
Right.
Like you would think that
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you would think you're doing it because you're passionate about teaching kids and you love it. But there's so many teachers that act like they hate it sometimes. You're like, they go to work with the worst grimace on earth and they can't stand their job. So why did they get into it? I mean, I can understand sometimes people hating their job that makes them $1 million a year. It's like, I hate this job, but I go to bed with a pillow full of $1,000 or whatever. I'm set. I can understand that more than I got a job that pays middle class kind of salary and I hate it. Like that. But so I think some of them are institutionalized. Like
I think some people just like power. I think they grew up with a teacher in front of them and they wanted to be the teacher. And
you think it's like bad cops? How some cops are bad cops?
Well, there are some teachers who like that power trip, I think.
Okay.
It's kind of
So
weird.
see, I love cops here. I do back the blue. We do need some police reform, but there are some bad cops. There are bad eggs in every
bad
scenario.
teachers.
And bad teachers. I was also saying is like the bad cops that when they pull you over for speeding, it's like you literally just robbed the bank.
When there is a good teacher, though, it can be life-changing, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and those things are hard to measure, right? Like you don't find that on some metric, right? Those are,
There's a question I wanted to say about school. Get your thought on this. At the collegiate level, do you agree with or disagree when Trump was elected? The fact that
Where's this going?
The fact that so many professors gave their kids free passes because they couldn't handle the trauma of Trump being elected.
That's funny.
They couldn't handle it, so they're like, no, you're going to be able to get a free pass on this semester. Agree or disagree with that?
I do not know their lived experience. I'll give it experience.
It's like, I don't want to belittle somebody's trauma.
Yeah,
But then, so my question is this:
that sounds ridiculous at the same time.
if we're okay with that, then my question is, where are all the conservatives when Biden got elected?
Yeah.
Their presidential candidate didn't win. Like, do you reckon any of them got free passes for the trauma for that semester?
Maybe they're not thin-skinned potatoes.
I'm sorry. I just had to say it because I was just sitting there thinking like of how school has changed and how education has changed.
Yeah.
The other thing is some things about education haven't changed and it's really ticked me off. One of my biggest qualms with my party, the Republican Party, that is my party, that's where I vote, but I recognize the bullcrap where I see it, is that we've basically taught the same things, done the same things. For instance, some of what you do, I think, is a very specialized thing. It's 1 in 1,000, 10,000, how many thousand people that's actually going to use some of the more advanced
small
stuff that you're right.
Yeah.
Versus every single human in America is probably going to use the internet. Is probably going to create relationships. Is probably going to have to interview at some point. Why are these things? Is going to have to engage in social media at some point. Why are these things fringe things that you can take a special course for or whatever? Creating independent wealth, for instance, like teaching people the ways to work the markets in this kind of at a young age. Why are these things the fringe courses and something like what you're doing should be probably at a college specific, like you go to you build the brains for that, like the guys who want to go there and they change the world in mathematics and stuff like that.
I would say I do teach those kids.
Okay,
I do teach.
okay.
Yeah,
right,
I
because
teach
it's
some of the
AP,
top-
so they gotta.
Yeah, I teach some of the top percentile. Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
But for me, it's like I don't know that in my whole life I needed like some of the advanced courses in as you got into junior and senior year of high school that could have totally been rectified with something that was much more practical for the vast majority of people. I
Yeah.
feel like some of our education system got to a point, it was in the 50s or whatever it was, and never changed, using exactly the same format, exactly the same curriculum almost to one point or another, instead of saying, hey, the world is vastly different today than it was 10 years ago. We need to change what we're teaching our kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's what causes it. Why is that part of education not changed? It seems like that would make a lot of sense to change what you're teaching your kids in the most developmental ages, but not in the ideological sense. I'm talking about the academic sense. Like, what do they
Practical
need to
skills
learn versus the stuff that's on the block right now, like CRT and transgender training and all this. It's like, instead of going that route, why didn't you teach everybody, like change your academia, some portions of your academia to where it's better benefiting kids for like career paths and to be productive in society and to have a good future.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of trade schools, and if
Budget class, for crying out loud.
yeah.
Yeah.
That people didn't have to select. You know, like I want to do budget, so let's find a special little course in my school only and do a budget class. It's like that should be part of your junior senior year. It's like you have to get a household, and this is how much money you make each month, and this is the bills, and by the end of the semester.
I think in 6th grade or something, we had a home economics class, and we learned how to fill out a checkbook in 6th grade, which you're not going to remember until you actually get a checkbook in your 20s.
Yes.
You know, like
That's what I'm saying, and even that's not like an advanced budget for somebody who's supposedly a young adult or about to be an adult coming into adulthood.
I definitely think in high school you should learn more about. Like you said, budgeting. Like, if you have a job, this is what the local apartments are going to cost, and what it's going to be like when you graduate college if you took out loans, stuff like that.
Loans and interest.
More
It's
often,
like, it makes me wonder if it's to encourage people to get into the broken system. In my opinion, the collegiate level, the way tuitions are 300% more expensive in the past decade, and you're not getting 300% better in education at college.
Well,
most of these courses are being taught by the teacher's aide, the TA, because they've got a tenure system where the professor's like, I got 10 years, my aide's gonna do it.
I feel like if you keep going down this line of thinking, though, it gets into conspiracy level of they're training the masses to be the workers. You know, like
I'll keep them ignorant. Yeah, keep them from being able to be competent and be independent, or be dependent upon the government, or dependent upon corporations. And,
Yes.
Yeah, I think different powerful structures. Yeah.
Okay, so my wife's been to more college than anybody I know, 9 years of college, and she's uncertain as to whether or not she wants our kids to go to college. They might just want to go to trade school or whatever. But at the same time, I've had people on the other end of the spectrum say, unless you go to college, you don't know how to think.
that's crazy.
They teach you how to think, and I'm like,
Yeah.
More
then
often,
why is my wife
no.
not wanting my kids to know how to think? That doesn't make any sense. Like, hold on. But I think, in reference to what you're saying, and maybe this is where I get a little QAnon or whatever, but I don't even.
It's a safe,
Don't condone
it's a safe space.
QAnon. Don't condemn them either. Just, but literally, like, I think the narrative, or the idea is, let's teach people that they won't even know how to think unless they do this sanctioned and like sort of government ordained, institutional flight plan. Whereas I only started reading stuff that mattered, that has stuck with me since I've been an adult, doing my own research, doing my own thing, and investing in lifelong learning. But I've had people who are like, oh, well, I've only been to like 1 year of college courses. It's like, you haven't been to enough college, man. Like, you can't even decipher the truth here. Like,
that tone, that level of arrogance to say that, man, that is dangerous.
It is. I've literally had it said, well, if you've been to a little bit more school, anyone who's been to like at least a couple years of college or whatever, like they are taught how to decipher facts from fiction, and decipher the information.
No, they're taught how to believe in authority. and then there's a chain of authority leading up to a political party system usually.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this clip from Not Gospel, if you like this podcast, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check us out on social medias. Try to keep up with Not Gospel Studios and all the new projects coming up on Facebook. And we have Big Little Church, the Man of God series. We're right now in the process of working on book number 2. You can get that on Amazon, the first book. And as always, keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.